I think that those two things can live on the same channel personally. And I've just found my audience over the years, like my ride or dies, as I would say, like
Mhm.
my most closest community members, their favorite videos are the vlogs. Those are like the community favorites. I come from a very, very creative family. Like all of my mom's side of the family, they're artists, they're
Mhm.
musicians. That was always like a huge value that was placed on me, I think, without really realizing it. We think of brand deals. That is a brand paying for access to your audience, meaning you have to have an audience for them to
Mhm.
want to pay for. User generated content is them paying to license your content. And it doesn't matter how many followers you have if you create really good content.
Hello, I'm Dustin PolyInnovator. Today I'm talking with Latasha James, who is an entrepreneur, video producer and host, marketing consultant, and freelance social media marketer, and many different other things as well. Thank you for joining me on the PolyTools Creator Spotlight.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
It's going to be one of those things where I feel like there's so many different tangents we can go down on this episode. I just wanted to make sure you get a chance to talk about who you are, though. So what got you started as a content creator?
Yeah, I have been creating content as long as I can really remember. I mean, I was like a kid of the early, do you remember GeoCities
A little bit,
on,
yeah.
yeah, like GeoCities, Blogger, Blogspot, Zango, all like I pretty much had a blog or a place where I was posting content since I was a kid. And YouTube started more seriously. I started doing
Mm.
it when I was in college. And I had a surgery on my foot. And so I was off work. I was working retail at the time in college. So I was off work for many months, or I think it was a couple months total. And so I
Mhm.
just kind of got sucked down the YouTube rabbit hole and started watching a ton of YouTube content. And I didn't realize what I was getting myself into. I was like, oh, anybody can post a video. That's cool. I'll just do one from my college apartment with very terrible quality,
That's how it was back then.
cameras.
Everyone had bad
Yep.
cameras.
Yep, exactly. It was just like a point and shoot camera. And I started creating content about mostly just lifestyle, beauty, fashion. That was what I was really into at the time. And I, over the years, just got really interested in like the more, technical side of things and the marketing side of things. So I
Mhm.
started researching like how to get my videos in front of more people and how to build community and what's a sales funnel. And that brought me into the marketing world, which is more of what I talk about now is like entrepreneurship, marketing, that kind of thing.
It seems too like back in those days with the early content social media platforms, I spent a lot of time on like Yahoo Answers, for example, which was like
Yeah.
pre-Quora. And I just love
And
answering
Reddit. Yeah.
questions. Oh yeah. It's just like kind of
Pre-Reddit.
playing around. Did you ever mess with like Lego.com? They had like a lot of like website building features too, which was cool back then. Yeah.
No, that's awesome. I love
That's
that.
what got me into a lot of that stuff there too. So I definitely resonate with you there. When it started YouTube, was it more just like vlogs that you were doing, or what were you kind of doing at the beginning?
I was doing tutorials, makeup tutorials, review videos. So I'd like product reviews, like check out this
Mhm.
lipstick. And I did start vlogging pretty early on though. I was actually pulling some old clips for a video I was doing, and I was like, oh wow, I started my vlog channel. I actually had a separate channel back then. Now it's all on one. But
Mm.
I started that channel maybe like within the first year of YouTube too. Like so I caught the vlogging bug really early. And that has always just been like, follow me around, like here's my grocery haul, here's what I'm doing today, that kind of thing.
I love that too. Like I didn't even quite realize you were that early. I knew you were early on, but that's one of those things where I do like the topic too. By the way, we could talk about that of like having it all in one channel versus separating things out. Because I
Yeah.
hate it when people separate things in the wrong philosophy, like having live on one channel, shorts on one channel, then videos on the other channel. And people do that a
Yeah.
lot. I can kind of get maybe having vlogs on a separate channel, but it's also your personal brand, which means
Yeah.
vlogs should be there. So, what are your thoughts on that, just right off the bat?
Yeah, I go back and forth with it. I mean, at the time in that era of YouTube, this is, 2013, 14, 15, I feel like that's what everybody was doing. Like all my favorite YouTubers had a separate vlog channel. And so I just kind of followed suit. But I think my general answer is like as long as the content you're posting isn't so drastically suited towards a completely different audience. Like if I
Mhm.
was making, I don't know, this is like a wild example, but like vegan food content on one channel and then like hunting on the other channel, like
Yeah.
okay, you should probably have separate channels. But if I'm doing like, you know, baking and cooking or even just like I own a restaurant and then I also do vlogs, I think that those two things can live on the same channel personally. And I've just found my audience over the years, like my ride or dies, as I would say, like
Mhm.
most closest community members, their favorite videos are the vlogs. Those are like the community favorites. So I don't know. I don't think I think I was always worried about like bothering people. Like, oh, I'm going to take up space in the feed. But the way that YouTube serves content today too is so different that like do people even go in their subscription box anymore? I don't think so. I think it's all served algorithmically to you based on what you typically like to watch. So I don't worry about that as much anymore, you know?
Yeah, it's really funny you say that too, because like I said, no one touches the subscription tabs anymore. It's always just the homepage tab. But
Yeah.
when I started seeing your content, for example, I don't particularly like vlogs. I don't watch vlogs that often unless it's someone I know. Like, if Linus Tech Tips did a vlog, I would watch it probably, right? But
Yeah.
it was funny, like your vlogs are what kept getting fed to me even before I reached out to you. And then eventually I kept seeing you over and over again. It's like, oh, let me talk to Latasha. She's pretty cool. She seems like she knows what she's doing really well. And even now, like after we started like connecting to have you on the show, I still keep seeing your vlogs more than I see your other videos
Interesting.
pop up on my home tab.
It's probably because they're the most engaged with. They're
Hmm.
not my most viewed. They actually get the lowest average views on my channel, but the comment section is like a message board, So that's probably why is because people actually engage and watch time too. Watch time is a
Yeah.
lot higher on the vlogs too.
I actually left a comment on your latest vlog about that exact same thing where you're like at the very end, you're like, oh, should I do these 40-minute ones anymore? Or should I go longer, shorter? And I'm like, yeah, I think the longer ones work because if someone likes you and they're watching that in the first place, then like I watched the whole thing, for example. Too. I mean, I speed things up, obviously, but I watched the whole thing
Yeah.
and I was like, that's watch time right there. And people care
Yeah.
about what you're talking about. Speaking of which, how was DC? How was that event?
Oh, it was so fun. I feel very illuminated afterwards. It was an event of 100 other female entrepreneurs, content creators, people in the media space. And yeah, I definitely think it relates to this conversation because one of my
Yeah.
main takeaways, as I'm sure you saw, was like the power of being a multi-hyphenate and kind of wearing different hats and different seasons for different versions of you.
Mhm.
So it was really good.
I was telling you right before this call about my other channel where I talk about people who are multidisciplinary, and so the multi-hyphenate kind of caught my eye when you said that. So I added that question here. Where is it? Real quick. So you talk about being a multi-hyphenate on your vlog, like you said. How do you feel like you live your multifaceted life?
Ooh. Well, I mean, I truly every single day is different. People always ask me when I tell them I'm self-employed, they're like, "Oh, so what does a day in your life look like?" I'm like, "Well, what day? What day do
Hmm.
you want to know?" Because it truly changes all the time. And I personally love that. I got really bored working in corporate and having it was just like so monotonous. Every single day was the same. It was nice because it was predictable, but it was very boring for me. That's just not how my brain works. And I think there's also a lot of freedom of choice in that I can kind of choose and work with my energy levels. Like there are
Right.
certain times of year and day, month, whatever, where I'm like just more energetic and more interested in doing one particular thing. So I can really like make that decision for myself, which is nice.
I definitely think that I'm probably gonna have you on the other channel too at this point. Because speaking of many different aspects of life,
Yeah.
as a content creator too, as a business person too, you have to wear so many hats. Like you were saying, the person was saying at the conference, in order to adapt to the new stimuli and situations that you have to face as a creator, you never know when, for example, Riverside might crash out on you and you need to find a new tool and you have to adapt in the moment. Or DaVinci Resolve was a big issue for me in the past.
Mm.
And so the tools you use, let alone the strategies, might change. If a platform shifts so dramatically, you have to change your strategy completely from the ground up half the time. It
Yeah.
doesn't happen so often, but like the adpocalypse of 2019, for example, on YouTube made
Oh, yeah.
everybody explode.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it changed that and like TikTok, the TikTok, ban, the potential TikTok ban earlier this
Yeah.
year. I'm not really on TikTok, but I was very sensitive to that because, so many of my students and viewers are, and I do social media for people and help people with their social media. So yeah, it's a volatile social media landscape, which was not the case 5, 10 years ago. It was kind of almost more like a job. You kind of knew
Yeah.
where you're going to get. So yeah, you have to be able to pivot and adapt.
I've been on TikTok since 2018 and as like an active user too, no less. And I feel like ever since it got banned, it's been not the same. It's like uncanny
Yeah.
valley. And it's just people have been saying the same thing too. And so it's one of those things where platforms change and you have to adapt. What was your favorite platform to start making content on, I guess, since COVID time, so to speak? Just out of
I mean,
curiosity.
that's easy. It's YouTube. It's
Yeah.
YouTube always. I mean, I am a huge YouTube fangirl, truly.
Is it
I
video
just
or YouTube? Like, is it? is because of video, or is it just YouTube's platform?
I mean, it's both. I think video is my creative medium for sure. I mean,
Mm.
I'm a writer as well. I have a column. I got started doing freelancing, doing writing, like blog writing, article writing. So I would consider myself a writer as well, but I can just express myself so much easier through video. I feel like it's a language, like editing is a language. So I think it's definitely that, but specifically it's long form video too, because, there's video now on Instagram, on TikTok, on everywhere. Let's be honest. Every social platform has video now.
Blue sky.
Yeah, all the things. But clearly, I'm not necessarily the most concise or don't even, I can be concise, but I don't want to have to. Like, I think there
Yeah.
is such beauty in storytelling and connection and having those long drawn out nuanced conversations. And
Like right
so,
now.
yeah, exactly. So, yeah, I'm a YouTube fan for sure.
I like encouraging those tangents and people not to be concise on this show, just because first off, it makes more clips that way too, which is always kind of like the productivity in me. But it's also nice because you get to have those interesting moments with somebody and talking to somebody, have a conversation. How many interviews have you done at this point? Or really?
Oh, a lot. I actually have a playlist of all my interviews on Spotify, and I think there's like over 50 on there,
Wow,
if I'm not
that's great.
mistaken. Yeah.
So you've made like all three content types at this point. I mean, granted, I feel like a lot of your podcasts have been started from your videos. You're repurposing in that way. But I always tell people you should be all three, but you don't necessarily have to make a podcast from scratch. You can cut out the audio. You can make your blog from a newsletter version of your video or something like that. Now,
Yep.
when it comes to writing in the future, do you have books in mind you want to make? Do you have something like big like that?
I was really ready to write a book in probably 2021. I
Mm.
actually, I mean, I have a whole like full manuscript written, and I was in the process of like pitching to agents and all of that, and I got really overwhelmed by it. I got really overwhelmed by that process of the whole traditional versus self-publishing debate. I have friends, very successful author friends on both sides, and I got stressed out and I decided it wasn't fun anymore and I stopped. I would love to pick that up again because I do think there's a couple books in me for sure. With this kind of new publishing landscape, I think I need to figure out what I want to do. Because it's not like the old days, if you will, where you got an agent, you published a book traditionally, and there's so many more options for creators now, which is awesome, but also overwhelming.
It's funny because literally the first thing that came to mind was going to be like, why don't you self-publish?
Yep.
But yeah.
Apparently you make a lot more money that way. And if you're, somebody like me who understands marketing, a lot of my friends recommend doing that. But then I do have a lot of friends who are on the other side who are like, traditional is more thought leadership, social proof, traditional media if you want to get on Good Morning America or that kind of thing. There's, press opportunities you don't get. It's, I don't know. I don't
No,
question
you don't have to
mark.
convince me. I'm just curious because I want to write more books too. And I definitely think that in order to get good on Morning America, you could probably just get an Amazon bestseller title, which are pretty simple to usually get from what I hear. And then just use that as a leverage. Like, hey, guys, I have an Amazon bestseller. Have me on.
Yeah.
Plus, you already
right.
have the social proof from your vast amount of content you've made already. You go to your websites, people are going to see the social proof right there. So,
yeah. So who knows? Stay tuned.
we talked a little bit like Riverside and stuff like that. I really love getting into the nerdiness of tools. What tools do you like to use for content creation or repurposing? It could be hardware, software.
Yeah. Video for me is pretty simple. I've been using Final Cut Pro for years and years and years. And I do use Riverside as well for the occasional interview. I don't have a primarily interview-based show. I do maybe like one every month or two. But I do use Riverside just because it's easy. It's kind of all in one. There is one tool actually that I have added to my workflow recently called Cast Magic. Have you heard of it?
Yeah,
I li-
repurposing.
yeah, it helps repurpose, but specifically for like text. So I use it to generate my YouTube timestamps because I used to like sit and watch the video and like, actually do the timestamps. So I get my YouTube timestamps if I want to make like a freebie to go with a video or a worksheet or something like that. Or even just, I still am a big believer, me personally, in writing my own emails because I am a writer, but I'll sometimes just get like title ideas or, kind of like a summary that I can then like translate into an email. So I really like that one. And Descript. I do use Descript as well. I use it a lot less nowadays, but every once in a while, if I just need to repurpose like a short form clip, get a transcript, pull an SRT file, that kind of thing, I'll use it.
That's why I'm kind of surprised you don't use Discret Rooms then for doing interviews versus Riverside, because it's kind
I
of the
need to
same
try
thing.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't even, I'm going to be honest, I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah.
So I'll try that
We'll
soon.
talk more. We'll talk more.
Yeah.
It's funny because I definitely think a lot of people sleep on the whole repurposing like video and podcast to written content kind of thing, because
Yeah.
there's Cast Magic, which I think is one of the more earlier ones on the market. There's like Video Tap, there's Recast Studio. There's a few different tools that are out there, but it really depends. And even the script technically you do a lot of that stuff too. And Riverside tries to, but I feel like their written repurposing stuff is not really
Not there. Yeah.
not there. Their SRTs are generally like only like 97% accurate anyways. I
Yeah.
can't tell you how my name gets messed up every single interview. PolyInnovator is like pollinator or something like that. Or
Love that.
yeah. So there's a lot of really cool ways we can go about talking more about that. I did see that MagSafe tripod in your video. That looked
Oh,
really
yeah.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah. That's just like an Amazon find. I am obsessed with those. Actually, one of my students, I met her at a speaking event I was at,
Mm.
and she had it, and I was like, "What is that?" Because it folds up like so tiny, and it goes to like I don't know, 4 or 5 feet tall or something. It's huge. And then yeah, MagSafe for your phone. So I have a bunch of them. I have them in my studio. I have them here. I have them in my travel bag. They're awesome. I can send you the link if you want.
Yes, please. I'll put it in the description anyways too. I have a little MagSafe thing from Ulanzi this has a screw mount, so you can attach it to
Okay.
whatever like thing you have. But
Yeah.
having a tripod like that just kind of built in. Also, just even the way you brought it up in the video, you talked about having a second angle for your
Yeah.
recording. And I think that's an important thing to note too. So for someone watching this could understand, you said you're not good at short form, or you're not used to it, but like you have so much already.
Yeah. Well, okay. The second angle thing, two things on that. Number one, I will tell you almost all of my top performing, like talking head, authoritative kind of YouTube videos have a second shot. And
Mm.
so that is a really easy cheat code. If you're like, I have kind of a boring video, I want to tell people 5 ways to do XYZ, just set up a second camera. And that second camera can be your iPhone, literally, or a webcam or whatever. But I think, people get bored, people have short attention spans. So just being able to flip between those I think there's something to that. And then the other thing about that too, you mentioned short form. I always teach people if they are leaning on short form content heavily, make sure that you are filming your long form videos with short form in mind. So for me, that's actually been zooming out a little bit. I think the trend on YouTube, again, years ago was a little bit closer up. But now if you just like either physically move your camera back, zoom out a little bit, it gives you more space to crop in and not have like a giant face on your phone screen.
Mm.
Or you can use a second device. You can use your phone to kind of record while you're doing your podcast to get some of that behind the scenes look or an mobile optimized shot.
I love that, Latasha. And I think there's a couple of things I could add to that even. The idea, like, some people who are newer might not be able to afford like a fancy camera. Like if you're still starting out, do with what you have. If you have your phone, use that. But I got upgraded to like a Elgato Basecam Pro. My old camera, the Logitech StreamCam, still a nice 1080p good camera. I actually bought it because you can rotate it, and the accelerometer makes the video vertical on the software on the computer, like automatically.
Oh, cool.
Super easy. So I try to have it set up here so I can have both cameras set up at the same time, and then you can just switch between them whenever you feel like just pressing the keys on like OBS or whatever. But then the other idea was, we're talking about Riverside, and this really goes for any recording tool, but in mind, whenever I throw a video, like you said, make shorts with the aspect ratio in mind, like what you're doing, like you're recording in mind. Whenever I export these interviews, I export them vertically as well, because if we just do the horizontal, it's going to get cropped right here. You're going to miss half the shelf, half the poster, both of your third shelves are going to be gone. And because we're going to be side by side for the YouTube video. And if you try to repurpose that, then it's going to crop us again and make us too zoomed in, too low resolution, versus if you just export from Riverside or whatever tool you're using natively, you'll have more of the view frame, you'll have more high resolution. I tend to export in 4K anyways too, just to make sure.
Yep.
Little
Absolutely.
tricks like that.
Yeah. All good things. I love it.
What other things do you have that you've experienced as a content creator that you think you could pass along to someone maybe like halfway on their journey? Not brand new and not super advanced, but something that might be useful for people.
Ooh, I mean, I have so many thoughts. I mean, I think my first and evergreen YouTube content creation advice is to just stick with it. I think that is my cheat code. Like I'm not trying to discredit myself, okay, and say that I'm not good at what I do, but I wouldn't say I'm like exceptional. Truly. I'm pretty normal. I'm a pretty normal YouTuber. Like my growth trajectory was very slow and steady. I'm not somebody who posted one video and went viral and blew up and and I say that to be encouraging that like a
It
lot
took a
of people
while.
can yeah, and a lot of people can be successful at this. It's just like I always think that what if I would have quit, at this like right before something amazing happened. So I think the trick to that too is you have to find joy in it. Like I never have resented or regretted spending time making content. Like I
Hmm.
truly love the process so much and I genuinely would do it for even if I wasn't making money. I'd probably have to do it less, but I would always create content. And so I think that's the thing. I think people get too stuck on like, oh, I should be on this platform or I should be talking about this. But if you don't actually enjoy it, you know,
Hmm.
you're not going to be able to be consistent with it.
What other ideas were you going to share as well?
So that's a big one. I think from a more technical point of view, something I wish I would have done earlier is start an email list. I think I just didn't understand how important they are. But for me, at least, email is pretty much how I make all of my sales. Like YouTube is my number one lead generator and traffic driver, but email is really where I'm selling primarily and keeping in touch with my audience. So definitely start that.
What
I
tools
would
do you
say
use
those
for
are two big
email?
ones. I use Flowdesk,
Okay, Flowdesk. I remember
which
you
is
mentioned
fine.
Flow or MailerLite in one of the videos I saw too. And MailerLite
Yep.
actually was one of the like I used to spend a lot of time looking at different tools, which is one reason why this PolyTools show came to be.
Yeah.
And I looked at like every email marketing tool on the market, and MailerLite was one of the ones that kind of just kept coming on top. And recently, I was looking at them again because I use newsletters as my email source. That's about it. I don't necessarily do automations as of right now, but if I have more e-commerce stuff down the line, I need more automation setup, stuff like
Yeah.
that. So I was curious, like what tools are out right now? Because I don't really want Kit. I don't really want
Yeah.
Mailchimp, obviously either, because that's kind of
Yeah.
archaic. But like MailerLite,
Obviously.
obviously.
Sorry.
No,
Sorry,
you're good.
Mailchimp. Yeah.
I just no, I just a lot of those tools that came out. What's another tool like Mailchimp that's kind of like archaic? Like Libsyn comes to mind for podcast hosting,
Yeah.
but what else do you think?
I mean, Constant Contact. I know there's
Yeah.
that one. I don't know. I think that's a little more corporate. But yeah, a MailerLite is actually I used that one early on too because what's nice is it's free up until like a certain subscriber count.
Hmm.
And so totally free to do a lot of, automations, landing pages, all of that. So I really built my list there. And then once I hit that threshold where I had to pay, I switched to Flowdesk because right now, at least, they have an unlimited plan
Hmm.
that does not penalize you for having more subscribers, landing pages, all of that. There's pros and cons to that. I'm sure I had like some email issues, deliverability issues earlier this year, but for now I'm happy with it just because I'm not doing anything too wild.
No, I like how you explained that too, because a lot of people don't realize when they're still learning about tools, even at the intermediate level, where it's like, okay, yes, do you need to pay for a tool, or can you find a tool that's free up to a certain point?
Yep.
And can you find like a different host? Like I used Ghost CMS for my website, and I was using the main Ghost Pro, but that's like $30 a month versus having like Magic Pages, which is like $8.50 a month. It's like a way
Yeah.
huge difference, especially when you're first starting out for a lot of people too.
Yep, for sure. Yeah. That's what I did. I like totally
Mhm.
bootstrapped everything and DIY'd everything until I outgrew it.
I also really resonate with you because you said you started YouTube way back in the day. You were talking about like 2013. That's around the time I started blogging. So I have a kind of parallel with you. And I feel like that kind of bonds us into content creator world. We've been in the trenches for so long. And
Yeah.
I've been YouTubing since 2018. And it's one of those things where that's kind of late in the grand scheme of things, but it's also early compared to everyone else. But I'm not growing as fast as I thought. And you mentioned earlier how, like, what if you had quit at a certain point?
Yeah.
And while I haven't really wanted to quit, I have faced those moments as a content creator. Do you have any advice for anyone watching in, like in those moments when you're feeling like you're not succeeding and you don't feel like you're going to succeed? What will you say to them?
Well, I think it comes down to defining success for yourself, number one. I've never viewed success as a subscriber count or a view count. I don't know. I don't really place a lot of emphasis on those numbers. Number one, it's always, like I said, been fun for me and been something that I really enjoyed doing. So I think that's a success. Like we don't tell
Hmm.
the hobby painter. Like, wow, you're not like, don't you want to be more successful at this, even though that's their favorite thing to do? Like,
Yeah.
that's just because they're not making amazing works of art. So, number one, it's about that. But number two, from a business perspective, I mean, yes, it took me a long time to get to 200,000 subscribers or whatever it is. It took me a long time to get my first paid brand deals or to really start making consistent revenue directly from like the YouTube platform. But I've been making money from YouTube since very, very early on. Like I
Hmm.
could track my leads and find out exactly where my freelance social media management clients were coming from when I was first starting that business in, 2015, 16. That's pretty early on. My first actually long-term freelance client came to me from a YouTube video. And this was a startup that I worked with for probably 4 years. I helped build their whole American team. I,
Mm.
you know, traveled to events for them. Like this was a real big deal client. They really helped me start my business. So I think it's all about figuring out what those measures of success are for you. And I don't think that they should be a number, like
Yeah.
a subscriber count number.
Vanity metric kind of thing.
Exactly. Yep.
One thing I noticed too, Latasha, in a lot of your answers, you expressed a lot of creativity and creative background. And it's funny, when I see your content, I just see like the businesswoman. I don't see I see like obviously creativity come out in the editing and stuff like that. But when I see like the way you express yourself, I kind of think like, oh, business, business. And I get to see both now in this interview. You're a more creative and business person. How do you
Yeah.
think your expression with the creative has changed over the last 5 or so years or so? 10 years
That's
even.
really, yeah, that's so interesting that you say that actually. I come from a very, very creative family. Like all of my mom's side of the family, they're artists, they're
Hmm.
musicians. That was always like a huge value that was placed on me, I think. Without really realizing it. I grew up playing music. That's like my number one passion actually is music. I was a drummer in school and I still write music and play music. And so I consider myself a very creative person. I went to school for film. But it's interesting. I think I had this belief when I was younger that, because I did come from a family of artists, not very wealthy family, you know?
Yeah.
And so I think I had this belief in my head, like, that whole like starving artist trope. Like, okay, art is something you just kind of do on the side for fun. It's not a career path. It's not something that is going to make you money. So I kind of like
Yeah.
shoved that down a little bit, actually, I think, and put on the business hat. But now that I'm, I think coming into myself a little bit more and also just taking stock of what I actually do value because I've hit crazy revenue numbers where I'm like, oh my gosh, I never
Yeah.
thought that would happen. And I woke up the next day and felt exactly like it did the day before, and I'm like, okay, that was fun for like a minute, but what is it? That's not your whole life.
Hmm.
Your whole life is about how you live every day. And so, all that to say, I think I'm placing a lot more emphasis on the creative and like tapping into that a little bit more. And yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm very lucky to do what I do, where
Get to have
I'm not
both in a way.
making masterpieces, but like I still get to edit and film stuff every day, which is a creative act in and of itself.
Maybe the book will be the masterpiece.
Yeah, maybe.
On the Polymathy channel too, we talk about like arts and science coming together to be that person. And I think that on this channel, it's more like the arts and the business coming together, like the creator and the business part.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it needs to be there.
Yeah.
If you want to DIY it, at least, I always say, I think there are content creators who love to create and have happened to make a business out of it. And I think that's me.
Mm,
And then I think there are like business owners who realize they need to create to market in today's world. I think those are two different types of people. The person who's like, hey, I'm going to outsource my podcast production. I'm going to show up for the interview because I'm a
mm.
CEO and I know I need to do this. That's not who I am. Like, I'm always going to operate first and foremost from like, is this lighting me up? Is this bringing me joy? Is this creative expression? And then how do I make money from it?
I like that. And I was actually going to mention or ask something about the drumming history and see if music was an inspiration for you. Do you ever think you're going to make like a music channel or do any kind of thing like that?
Oh, no. I don't think I would make a no music channel, but I am challenging myself, like I said, to write music again. And I've taken a few songwriting courses over like the past year or so. So I
Mm.
definitely want to record some things. It'll probably be secret. I think I'm going to do like, pseudonym, drop it on Spotify and disappear. So, nobody will probably hear it, but it is something I want to do just for myself.
YouTube unlisted and all that.
Yeah.
Well,
DM
again,
me for the link.
yes. We'll put it down in the link down below, guys. No, I definitely think that since your channel is a personal brand as well, like you could theoretically put that on there, especially if you're not
Yeah.
doing like a consistent series. It's every once in a blue moon, every quarter, like here's another music video or something like that. Do you ever do
Yeah, for
karaoke?
sure.
I'm a big karaoke guy.
I love karaoke. I
What's your
love
go-to
it.
song?
Well, I went on a cruise earlier this year and I did Goodbye Earl by the Chicks. I don't know if you know that one.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
I
Yep. It was
host
a crowd
karaoke, so
pleaser.
I've heard a lot
You've
of
heard
these
it all.
songs.
What's your go-to?
Queen, Somebody to Love.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that.
I'm probably going to karaoke tomorrow night, actually, so it's funny that we talk about this, but I definitely think that, especially when it comes to people who love music, karaoke is a fun way of expressing that. And that's how I learned to sing, was going to karaoke like religiously. But I went to an event last month, Vid Summit in Dallas, and I tried to find a karaoke bar and get the people from my fellow YouTubers to come with me over there. I'm kind of surprised that none of us were recording, to be honest. But I think that a lot of events like that would benefit from having like a karaoke night or something like that. What's some of your favorite events? I saw you went to the social media marketing world. I haven't got to
Yeah.
go to that one yet, but do you have any other ones you like?
You know what? One of my favorites that I went to was in Cleveland, Ohio. I think I went last year or the year before. It was called Content Entrepreneur Expo,
Hmm.
CEX.
Hmm.
It was really good. You would probably like it because it's like made for people like us, made for
Hmm.
people who create content but are entrepreneurs, like entrepreneurial about it, not like influencery about it, a little bit more. Yeah. So that one was really good. I actually did a keynote there. I'd never heard of the event before, but I loved it. Also, I will say lately I've been finding a lot more value just in like small things, like this event that I went to in DC that was hosted by The Riveter is the company that hosted it. And it was it was a 100-person invite-only event. I went to a startup event in my hometown, Kalamazoo, a couple years ago. That was really, really great. So I think there's a lot of value in those like smaller local groups as well. That's kind of been more my vibe than like the huge conferences. Not that I don't love those too, but I think I've been making more meaningful connections, at least in the smaller ones. You get more FaceTime with people and you get to meet people who are your neighbors and who you actually might realistically be able to collaborate on a regular basis.
Even at the big events too, the meetups are where everything's at.
Yeah,
I
for
remember
sure.
I went to another one you might actually check out. I've gone the last 2 years, NAB show. Uh,
Yeah.
they have it in New York, but I think the biggest one is like the actual bread and butter. But they have a content creator area as well, and a lot of filmmakers go out there and stuff like that. And so there's a lot of YouTubers who do film and they talk about the equipment. So I've met a lot of them, but it was already people who talk about like Insta360 and DJI and those like more gimbal cameras. But it's really interesting going in there, and it was a networking event at one of the resorts, and I just remember showing up, and it was about 50 to 100 people, and I just met so many cool people. I had no idea who a lot of these people were, and they're like pretty huge YouTubers in some ways, or huge filmmakers, or like people who worked in that space in LA quite a bit. And then at Vid Summit this year too, I went to another meetup, and I was able to meet like some big YouTubers again. And you just never know. Like it doesn't really matter about the size, but it's just like it's so crazy how you just talking to someone, having a conversation. They have like 1 million subscribers.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Yep. Yeah. That's fun. I will say I have to like hype myself up for events though. I'm actually very introverted. I think I've become more like ambivert over the years, or maybe I just know how to do it now, but I do have to every room I walk into, I really get major imposter syndrome and like I'm so scared to introduce myself to people. And they're hard for me, honestly. But I mean, I'm always happy I went, but I also love like being at home recording my videos.
Doing Pilates and all that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Before I even move on to the next question, I really resonate with that, but in the opposite sense, where like I'm an ambivert too, but I feel like I've grown more introverted over the last few years. And so it's really kind of funny how opposite we are on that. I love that.
Yeah.
And so with all these different content creation aspects, you talked about the entrepreneurship angle and the monetization angle. What are the variety of monetization sources that you talk about? And feel free to go as little or as much topic if you want to. I don't want to intrude as much.
Oh, yeah, you're good. I mean, so I always tell creators, at least to start, think about 3 different pillars, really. Number 1 is a service. I think that's the easiest, like lowest hanging fruit. Like we all have a service inside of us, whether that's consulting, coaching, doing marketing for people, editing clips for people. Like do something to fuel your ability to work for yourself,
Yeah.
basically. So a service for me, like I said, that started out freelance writing and social media management. And, I do a variety of different things under those umbrellas now. Then is products. Think about a product that you can offer. So for me, that's always been digital products, although I do
Notion
sell merch.
templates. It's like that
Yeah,
too. Yeah.
templates, courses, worksheets, downloads, series, things like that. And then lastly is brands, brand relationships. And this is the one that typically comes a little bit later. And I always, I try to kind of coach my students like, I think we always think of the brand relationship as like the pinnacle of success. Like I can't wait to get brand deals, but it can be disappointing because number one, it takes a long time generally, because you have to actually build an audience and you can actually make a lot more by funneling to these other two sources that I mentioned. But there are definitely ways to work with brands early on in your journey. Number one is affiliate marketing. So you might not get like, hey, here's $5,000 to make a video, but you might get paid $200 every referral, especially if you're
Mhm.
doing things about tools and tech and, those higher ticket things. Yep. And then also there's this kind of new service that's emerged over the past few years, user generated content. And that's basically where you license the rights to your content to a brand so they can use them for advertising or use them on their own channels. And what's interesting about that, we think of brand deals. That is a brand paying for access to your audience, meaning you have to have an audience for them to
Mhm.
want to pay for. User generated content is them paying to license your content. And it doesn't matter how many followers have if you create really good content.
Mhm.
So there are avenues to work with brands even as a small creator. But yeah, service, product, brands, those are the places I recommend starting.
I love that. And one thing I might even add to it too, but the affiliate thing, I became a partner with Opus really early on, purely because I became like their biggest power user. So to talk about tools, I was on their Discord, interacting with people, answering questions, and just
Yep.
being an active member of like a new tool. And because of that, I became a partner. So even though my audience was small, technically, I still had a connection with the people at the company. You could find
Yep.
ways of doing that too.
Absolutely. That's great.
I love the UGC comment, especially. I feel like the evolution of the influencer has definitely led into UGC, it seems like.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been really interesting to see. I mean, I guess I was unknowingly creating UGC for some of my first clients. I was actually doing YouTube videos for them on their channels. If you dig deep enough on YouTube, you could find my face teaching you how to build WordPress websites.
Oh no.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, it's interesting how that industry has popped up, especially because of short form content too. And I think just how consumers are engaging with video. Like people want that iPhone footage. They don't want
Mhm.
like a corporate like guy in a suit doing like the talking. Like they want like somebody
It's real.
handheld, casual, yeah, that real authentic content. So I think brands are finally getting that they need to license that content or make it themselves.
Mm. And I definitely think that there's a lot of angles to where we can go on this show, but I want to make sure I also respect your introvert energy. So just a couple more questions here before we wrap
Yeah,
up.
you're good.
What do you have coming down the line that you're looking most forward to?
Yeah. Well, maybe a book.
Okay.
Maybe figuring out a book.
Grad program to maybe.
Yeah, I'm also going to school starting in February actually and hopefully getting the plan is to get a master's degree. It's actually a psych program. So I'll be learning how to be a better coach, a
Mhm.
therapist, learn about mental health and that's it's not a career like I think it's an addition to what I currently do. My favorite thing that I do in my business is one-on-one coaching. Like that
Mm.
is where I feel the most fulfilled. And I kind of just want to be able to get better at that and help people in different ways as well, outside of just the, business marketing traditional way, but help people with their day to day, things that affect how we run our businesses and our energy levels and all of that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's my next new challenge.
I remember hearing you talk about energy levels a lot in your content, and you also seem to have a empathetic point of view when it comes to like the creator world. Shira Lazar is a creator who talks about creators with mental health for creators. So I might have to
Mm,
connect you with her at some point because maybe you can do like a keynote at NAB or something like that down the line, talking
yeah.
about your journey on that, but also how you can help others with it too.
Yeah, I'd love to connect with that person.
Yeah. So if someone wants to connect with you though, where can they find you online?
Yeah, latashajames.com is my website. You You can pretty much find everything there. But my main social channels are YouTube, just Latasha James, and Instagram. That's pretty much it, at the Latasha James. I do technically have a TikTok, but I don't recommend following me there because there's not much going on.
I do have the link down below there for you, but
all right, that's fine.
I had one more question actually before we wrapped up. I was curious, do you still use WordPress?
I do not, no.
Okay, what do you use now?
For my website, Squarespace.
Okay, good enough. I just want to make sure you're not on WordPress anymore.
Yeah, no, one of my early clients was, they did like website building tutorials. So that's how I know about WordPress.
Fair enough. Once again, this is Dustin PolyInnovator and Latasha James on the PolyTools Creator Spotlight. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
It was great.